So they'll get a little bit older. They'll be maybe a third to half the size of an adult. They'll be gray, but you'll see kind of pock marks or rake marks, lines on them. So you can tell they're a bit older. As they get to be subadults, they'll become more and more white. But usually there's pigment that sticks around on the fins and around their eyes seem to change at a different rate. And then when they're adults, they're usually uniform white in color. And if they get to be an older adult, it seems like their pectoral fins, so the front fins, become really curved. Um, and so there's a few kind of non-color sort of pattern recognition that we can use to tell approximate age class.
And in case people are like, wanting to double back on that, or if they forgot anything, they can see some ways to identify on the Beluga Bits website. It'll kind of help to explain that, and if they do need to reference back to it.
Yeah, so there's a few infographics that talk about aging. There's a section that's called Talk, and in that section, I've put a whole bunch of kind of the characteristics and the keys and the thought process that's gone into the age classes, and we're still figuring out as we see new photos of animals. Sometimes it'll spark, and we can say, "Oh, that'll be a great thing to use," because it seems like we're always seeing that particular characteristic in older animals or in younger animals.
So yeah, it's definitely helpful with everybody taking snapshots, and probably just adding to your workload in the long run. Like you said, it brings up a lot of new questions, and
That's the best kind of workload is
yeah.
questions. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a question yesterday and earlier about if we can do if both the screenshots that people take outside of the Explorer.org framework or the snapshots with the camera icon are both used in the citizen science project, the Beluga Bits project. And unfortunately, only the ones that are captured within the Explorer.org framework can be used. And that's because each one of those gets tagged with a file name that tells us what time it was taken. And then we link that back to our GPS track. So where exactly we were on the river and what time it was. And that allows us to link that to the frame. And we're hoping that that sort of information will be helpful to say, oh, do we only see, adults or mums and calves in the deepest part of the channel and never in the shallow areas? Do we see these certain animals or group composition later in the year, not earlier in the year? So all sorts of cool things are all linked together. So.
We just got a whole bunch more. You probably want to take some photos here.
I do. I'm going to pass the mic to Meg.
So yeah, lots of action. I could see while Stefan was talking there, we had a few whales just behind the boat again, and like you could actually, you're watching them doing their barrel rolls, and they like to flip upside down, eh?
Yeah, they do. Plenty of opportunity to.
There was a paper a few years ago. It was the first that looked at narwhal swimming upside down, and they put kind of a cam on a suction cup on the animals. The Inuit had known that they swim upside down, but I don't think anyone realized how much time they spend swimming upside down. And so beluga, we think, do similar thing. And there's been some ideas about how, because their melon is kind of above their jaw, so the big bulge on the front end of a beluga is called a melon.
And they use this sound is what comes out of the melon, is that right?
Yeah, like so they run sound for their sonar through that big oily mass. And there's been some suggestion that they can focus the sound beams a little bit more using muscles in that. So if they're upside down, it gives them a better look underneath them deeper into the water. Whereas if they were right side up, then their jaws are
Feel that?
their jaws are in the way, so they would have to bend their head down in order to get that view, and when they did that, they become less aerodynamic. So you can maintain your sleek torpedo shape in the water and still image the undersea a bit better. And seals do the same thing.
We got some whales squeaking up against the bottom of the boat, pushing us around right now. Sorry. But yeah, that is cool how they can, their sonar, like the sound goes through the melon and then reverberates back and into their auditory nerve, and it's, I mean, crazy to think I think I was reading they can tell when they're looking, depending on what they're after, say food or something like that, they can tell the object, the size of the object, somewhat the composition of the object, all just from using the noises that they're making under the water, which I think is fascinating. I think there are some messages there, Meg. My phone is beeping.
Oh, I guess the deck camera went off air, but it's live again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes we get the odd little blip. What it could be as well, just in case people are wondering. Like I mentioned earlier on today, we have a new setup on the port that puts the signal out into the bay, and it's basically sectioned off into 3 portions, and sometimes there's a little bit of overlap, so momentarily throughout the day we might kind of venture through one of those spots where we just briefly lose a signal or it gets a little fuzzy, but right. Seem to really like the boat today.
Yeah, definitely. We have another great group. I think adults and juveniles mixed. Haven't seen a calf in the mix yet in this group.
A real big adult too. That guy looks pretty large.
Definitely showing some curiosity here around the camera. So the underwater camera, you should get some good views there.
Well, it's been a very exciting day today. This is awesome.
Oh, looks like one of them's nibbling on the camera maybe a little bit right now.
I think the whales are happy with the conditions too, eh? For
Yeah.
the last few days it's been pretty choppy out here. We've been getting lots of wind and lots of rain and lightning, and
Yeah.
I think getting a break from it all, it seems like the whales are pretty pumped about it too.
Yeah, it's just beautiful out here. What a great day.
Yeah.
We weren't so sure after the abuse of yesterday that
Yeah, like I was saying, it only takes once and you learn your lesson quick, so I'm wearing layers now, and I wasn't expecting all this sun. So I'm pretty toasty right now.
yeah. Yeah, we were prepared for rain yesterday, but not quite the rain we got. That was
No.
just slamming buckets of water in our face
What they're
as we
projecting
were
for
heading back.
what they're projecting for rain, I think we got within the first 30 seconds.
And yeah, if you weren't tuned in earlier, we were describing that we were out, you know, and there were some gray clouds around, but certainly not expecting a lightning storm or
No.
thunderstorm, and saw one bolt of lightning and just booked it home.
No.
But we were pretty drenched.
Yeah, it still got hammered pretty good, and it was weird. As soon as we got near the launch, the water just that went right in my mouth as I was talking. We've been learning more and more about beluga boogers, so I know that's not just water that went in my mouth.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Oh, I'm sure. I'd like to find.
We've all
I'd like to do some equations here and see at this rate by the end of the summer just how much beluga boogers I will have eaten. And I noticed too, like a few times, I didn't quite get it there, but possibly, I don't know if there's such thing as beluga tic tacs or something. Their breath isn't exactly pleasant smelling. But yeah, what I was saying is once we got close to the launch there, all of a sudden the water just smoothed right out. It was awesome. It was super windy and choppy, and then it just, I mean, even better than what it is today. Everything just flattened right out.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool besides the crazy rain.
Have another couple juveniles showing some interest in the boat again.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been covering some good ground today. We've kind of been all over the place, but the whales today just seem to be very spread out. So we've been getting good action all day.
Oh, this is so cool. There's a juvenile kind of rolling around for the camera here.
I could feel him hitting the bottom too. Today's the first day that I mean, it's been so rough, so I guess they could have been doing it every day that we've been out, but right now you could really feel it, and today was the first day we could hear them.
Oh, he's taking a nibble. He or
I think
she.
BJ's got that thing. It's a pretty solid camera, it looks like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think it could take some abuse.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I was out here early in the season before Kyron arrived with BJ and Tim, two tech geniuses that have cobbled this amazing equipment together.
It's crazy.
I don't know how they do it, how they get the signals out here so we can get it to you live, but I'm sure
And yeah, like
appreciating that they do.
thanks to them for sure. They put in a lot of hard work. I was up for, I don't know what it would have been, close to a week maybe, with everybody up here, and those guys, they bust their butts to make this happen. It's a lot of work and a lot of teamwork and stuff that's involved. So
Absolutely.
I mean, this rig, hopefully when Simon comes out, we're going to be taking some cool photos and stuff, and that way everybody can kind of get a good idea of what the whole unit looks like. But just even this black box that we have in the boat here, kind of the brains of the operation in there, it's pretty intimidating opening that up. I'm just hoping nothing goes wrong, because I won't know where to begin.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's
Bunch
awesome.
of wizardry
Yeah,
that made it.
Awesome that there's people like BJ and Tim and Krista and Elisa and yourself, Meg, like everybody that they're all very dedicated, the cam ops people. It's a lot that goes into this, a lot of effort from a lot of people.
Definitely. Nice big team, for sure. It's great to have you joining us too, Kyron.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, when BJ and Tim were here, they were out working on the beluga or the polar bear cam, getting that ready for the fall. So you'll have to tune in for that live coverage when polar bears are migrating back out to the coast,
Yeah.
waiting for the sea ice to form.
There's another very small juvenile out there, a little calf. I was lucky last year. I showed up in November and spent 6 months up here in Churchill, or I guess I should say mostly outside of Churchill, living out on a trap line. But I was really hoping that I was going to make it out in time to see some polar bears, and lucky for me, they were still in town. There's a lot of them in town, actually. And yeah, it's amazing. So definitely encourage everybody. I mean, you can go on Explorer's site right now, explorer.org, and check out some highlights of the polar bear cams, and just kind of get an idea of what we're going to be seeing here in a few months. It's cool. What a crazy animal.
Absolutely.
They're huge, like, and I mean, seeing them up close, it's crazy. It's such a big animal.
Yeah.
And there's I'm not a polar bear expert by no means, but from the little bit that I know, I mean, we're probably close to 100 kilometers inland, and we were seeing polar bear tracks, which to me, that was insane. And it's the females, they're going into den. Trying to think, I think they go in November, December, somewhere around that time. they head into den and give birth, and then they're heading out April, May, somewhere around there when they're coming back in to make it out on the ice with their calves, or sorry, their cubs. And at that time, they could have been 8 or 9 months that the females haven't eaten, but they've brought up these cubs, and it's a very interesting animal.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible story being able to pack on that much energy to keep yourself going and mostly two cubs for such a long time
To be
period.
that efficient, you can raise cubs as well, and then make that journey. Like I was told that it's even, I think they've been seen 100 up to 120 kilometers inland. So that's to walk that distance.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and then to walk that distance with your cubs as well, and keep them nourished, and then they have, on top of it, they need to get out on the ice and fend off male bears, and it's crazy.
Yeah, we were flying with conservation or wildlife biologists with sustainable development a couple of years ago, and tracked a mom and cub probably 100 kilometers in before we had to go and refuel, and it was not a straight track in, and there's lots of wolves roam in that same area, which is a risk for the young cubs. So.
The wolves, which are huge up here in Churchill, I think they are barren lands wolves.
Probably a bit of further north, kind of the Arctic and the bigger ones, and then also the boreal ones too, because we're on a bit of a transition area right here, so we have kind of a great mix of boreal species and also the tundra species as well. So
and
black
also
bears, grizzly bears now.
Yeah, we've seen some black bears early in the spring, and grizzlies. Gabby, one of the girls here that works for PBI, she was out and she got a cool photo of one of the grizzlies up here, and it's actually a really good photo, and they're a lot smaller than regular grizzly bears, but they have all of the same characteristics, just a smaller bear.
Yeah, and they're one that we're seeing on cameras more often. There's a bunch of trail cams in Wapusk National Park, part of our research project that's been ongoing from researchers in Saskatchewan, and I think they have one camera set up that has captured all 3 species in the same location. So
really,
kind of,
wow,
could cross 3 of your 8 species of bears off your list just by visiting Churchill if you're a bird watcher for bears. Bear watcher, I guess.
Lots of visitors today. And also, I wanted to say too, polar bears, they can swim it's like they've seen them swim for a week straight, hey? Like once they leave the ice and it's time to head back to shore, sometimes, and I mean that's due also to less ice or the ice melting off earlier than it should, and the bears they're out there eating seals to fatten up, but I mean the fact that they could swim that long without basically taking a break, right? They're just swimming straight.
I think the record was a bear that was collared in Alaska, and it swam I think almost like 700 kilometers with like no ice at all to get out to the ice, and then as that ice kind of formed, because it was more towards winter, it walked back another 1,200 kilometers to get back to where the approximate location that it was at the start.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. The bears always return. It's not as if they'll just swim to the closest piece of land. They want to go back to where, the same spot each year. So
yeah, certainly for females, we know a lot less about males, and that's because the males, their necks are bigger than their heads usually, so you can't put the typical collar on a male because he'll just be able to take it off. So we know lots about a lot of the tag or the tracking data on polar bears are from female polar bears, and those we think that kind of subadults and males probably range quite widely. At least it looks like that from the genetics, that they're moving a lot. So they may or may not come exactly back in the same way as females do,
okay.
but we really don't know. There's actually about 10 ear tag collars that are deployed on polar bears in western Hudson's Bay now.
And that's kind of a new thing, isn't it? Where they don't last as long, the tags, but it's still gonna hopefully help with some valuable information on the male bears.
Yeah, it seems like every year the tags can last longer with less battery, and that's really the limiting factor. So there's a few research groups and companies that are really interested in how do we make a less invasive satellite tag, because we need that sort of information for lots of these animals in order to manage them and understand what's going on. But we also know that, in some cases that comes at a cost to that animal. So if we can minimize that, we're doing better, and just it's better for the animals. So kind of the technology changes and things get better for wildlife biologists and wildlife as well, which is really great.
Yeah, even like we were talking about methods of studying the animals and how they're less invasive the other day, where just the snot collecting and things like that, they're doing it without having to capture the animal or put it under any sort of stress, where they're just swabbing the water instead of having to have actual physical contact. So everybody's always trying to develop better methods and things like that to continue to study the animals and learn about them, but then just cause less stress on them.
Yeah, and that's why I think that recruiting the explorer.org community to take snapshots is kind of the perfect project. We're out here just cruising around. Whales can choose to approach or not approach, and we can just capture snapshots and then get at a whole bunch of really exciting and interesting questions without having to handle animals.
Yeah, lots and lots of data, and all we had to do is come enjoy ourselves out on the boat. And thankfully for everybody at home watching, they're doing a lot of work and they're helping out a lot by taking these snapshots. Oh, that was cool. Big barrel roll. So awesome day. I'm hoping everybody's getting good views of the whales here and stuff. We've had a lot coming to the boat, basically just steady for the last, I don't know how long. Time seems to fly out here, especially when we're getting this much excitement. But pardon? Oh yeah. Yeah, so that means we've been out for almost 2 hours now already, which crazy. Right now we'll be at about high tide, then so the water's going to start heading back out soon. Yeah, it just cleared right up. There's a few clouds to the west. That's actually where that storm came from yesterday. So we'll keep an eye on that. But no, it's nice and sunny right now. Warm, sweating. That one looked like oh, that might have been just the other fin. So you can see them turning their heads like we were talking before, how they don't have the excuse me, fused vertebrae in their necks, which allows them to kind of look around and their heads aren't fixed in a certain position, which makes them unique to other whales. Pardon?
I think we're on the tidal bore right here.
Yeah. all the sun's got to help, even though the clarity of the water's not super awesome. Hopefully we'll get some good screenshots today. These guys, 4 just chilling out together. Oh, maybe more. Yeah, it's very obvious today that they're rolling around more. And it's really cool when you see them just coming in, like, it looks like they're on a mission, trying to catch up to us here in the boat, plowing the water. It was sure cool seeing those calves earlier too. Yeah, I think this year it seems like, I don't know, just talking to a few people, everyone's been mentioning the calves, so just seems like people are maybe seeing them more than they have in past years. BJ, I know he was out on the boat with us earlier, and he mentioned the ones that we seen that day were by far the smallest he's ever seen. So it's always good to hear things like that, and it's exciting to see the little ones.
We're getting some great comments in the chat. It sounds like people are pretty happy with the underwater views that we're getting, so that's awesome. Yeah. They're telling us just wait until we get back on shore and take a look. Can't wait to do that.
Yeah, we
so
try to keep an eye on it as best we can on the boat, but there's lots going on, so you'll miss it. But I'm always excited to get back to the house and kind of go through all that and see what everybody has to say. And again, I'll just mention too, well, Stefan's on the boat here with us today. It's an awesome time to ask some questions, and if anybody's curious about anything with the whales or say the seals in the area, things like that, he's the guy to ask. So
absolutely,
get those questions out there now.
Yeah, send us some questions, guys, and we'll pass them on.
Yeah, you can tell it's calmer today. There's more bugs that have ventured out here to hang out with us on the boat. Luckily, no bulldogs. We found out we've been getting lots of lightning and stuff lately, and totally true. You get a bit of lightning because when I first arrived, we were getting swarmed with the bulldogs, which are just the horseflies here. They call them bulldogs, and there's piles of them. But for whatever reason, just a bit of lightning, and it seems to die them down for a few days, and then they'll slowly kind of start to get active again. But we've been getting lightning every couple days, it seems like, so there hasn't been lots of bulldogs, which is totally fine by me.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
Talking to Simon today, it's like he's a piece of beef jerky for those things.